So again, great to meet you. I want to begin our journey into your good work by asking you this. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed so much about the way we work and live. How did you get through that COVID era, and how has it changed the way that you do things today?
That's an interesting way to start with the COVID. I mean, look, my whole life, I had to handle probably unusual levels of uncertainty from growing up in a war-torn society in Serbia, Yugoslavia, to immigration and so forth, activism and fighting for freedom. So, but COVID was definitely something different for two reasons. First of all, I was married. So, and the second, my wife, we had a baby, and my wife was pregnant at the same time. So at the beginning, just like everybody, we were very disoriented. Didn't know what's going on. We were washing bananas and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous now that I think about it. But what really got me through that is my companionship with my wife, honestly, and the sense of purpose that we need to keep ourselves both healthy and sane. Because she was pregnant and we have a small kid. Mila was 5 months old, and then a few months after that, Marissa was pregnant. So sense of purpose and relationship, and we kept in touch. I talked a lot to my friends, and I became closer to some of my friends. One of my friends, Peja, who is a Harvard professor, as well, became a business partner because of COVID. Because we spoke every other day for like a few hours in the morning when I would take my baby with me so that Mama can rest a little bit, and I would take her for a walk and talk to Peja on the phone. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend it was weird, and we had our anxious moments and scares, but also at one point we decided we want to get out a little bit more. We even traveled at one point. The moment it was a little bit safe, we went to Jordan. My wife is Jordanian. Spent some time with family
yeah,
because our family is far. So yeah, that's family, friends, sense of purpose, uh, and companionship with my wife.
for sure. So let's get into your work with ChangeLab, and I want to get to the essence of what you do on a daily basis. So I'm going to put you
Yeah.
in front of a bunch of kids at career day. They're 12 years old, and they want to know what you do for a living. How do you make your day job make sense to their brains?
I help people navigate transitions. That's the easiest way. You can say I'm in leadership development, in personal development, teaching people how to meet uncertainty. But the easiest way to say it, I enable people to go through transitions with success. And if you think about it, life is all about transitions,
Yeah.
and these are the moments where we experience probably the most anxiety. Uh, COVID is a huge transition. We had to
Yeah.
learn how to live apart a little bit, and with some fear, with some danger, some risk. Huge transition. How to work online, how to work while our kids are around us. All of that transition. Um, Transition into a first, maybe you're going to a new school. Maybe you're having a first time employment. Maybe you're such a good employee now you're leading your team for the first time. What I particularly focus on is enabling people to survive those high stakes moments that affect others. Like what happens when you become a first time manager and I have to lead a team, and what happens to that's like when you become mid management. So now you're like thinking, oh my God, I need to earn their trust. And but also, there's a bit of a self doubt for sure. But also your performance affects your team. Um, so there's a lot of uncertainty. And the next level that brings a lot of uncertainty is the people who transition from mid management to C level or founder level, or not, now you're almost running the game. That's a huge transition as well, because very often you either have to lead team of teams, which is a very different game, or you have to completely create new structures if you're a founder or co-founder, stuff like that. Uh, and the way I do that, I teach people through coaching, but mostly through cohort-based trainings. Besides teaching at University of Georgetown or Georgetown University, um, I have different programs, workshops, single workshops, or longer 90 days programs where people who are going through transition go together through a curriculum of, in a cohort, because that's the best way to learn, right? You got to learn how to face that uncertainty with agency and learn how to be able to build trust and read the room and have difficult conversation, make decisions when it's uncertain, and so forth. You have to do it in a community. You cannot do it alone. So that's why very often people say, "Oh, Nikola, you're a leadership coach," and I say I'm not. Coaching is supplemental. What I am more of a I like to teach cohorts because then people learn from each other. And the way I teach, what I do in these workshops, they're usually 2 hours long, in person or live. On Zoom. I put people in simulations. I give them some frameworks, and we could talk about that. But I really put people in unexpected positions. They don't expect this in workshop, uh, and I kind of like make them face uncertainty right there, right now with the cohort, and then learn from it immediately. So that's my day. I help people navigate transitions through teaching them through workshops.
So before we find out how you acquired these skills to get to this point in your career,
Yeah.
what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
Man, when I was 12, believe it or not, I was thinking a lot about being a politician.
Okay.
And that has a lot to do with my, you know, I was about 9 when the war in Yugoslavia started in 90s, and I encourage people to read about it and learn about it because it's there's a lot of lessons there. And I remember about that time that was the moment when I realized that grown-ups don't have it all figured out. And it's a big moment. Many of your listeners may be going through that right now. And and then I start looking at the world a bit differently. Like, wait, what is my place here? So I think when I was 12, I probably thought about, if I remember correctly, I think I think I can do a better job than them. I don't, I saw a lot of weird childlike behavior among grown-ups because they were fighting on TV and physically on streets, obviously. So yeah, but yeah, short after I did become an activist. I never became fully politician, but I am what I do has something to do with politics because I do work with some aspiring politicians and politicians to help them learn how to lead in a more of a collaborative way.
So how did you evolve to this place, to this profession that makes sense, that you do so much to help people navigate? How did all of these skills and how did this happen for you?
Yeah, going back again to my childhood, uh, in the face of that war that happened in Yugoslavia, that was caused by authoritarianism, by dictatorship in my home country, Serbia. I felt disoriented, lost, scared a little bit, for sure. Not a little bit, a lot probably. Uh, and that, long story short, I remember I was in the high school. I was 14 when on the stairways of my high school, I saw this flyer that had a fist on it, and it just said "Otpor," which in my language means resistance. And a friend of mine told me, "Oh, there's this student organization a few blocks away from us, from the school. Let's go see what's up." So I went there, and that day I saw some 20-plus-year-olds taking me seriously because I wanted to do something about all the injustice that I saw around myself, and I became an activist that day. That movement brought down the dictatorship in Serbia, but not only that, that movement became world famous, and it started today as because we used nonviolence to bring down a vicious dictator. Like, how do you organize group of seemingly powerless high school and student kids to overthrow a vicious dictator who has money, power, military, and police, and so forth? And we did it. And that set me on trajectory. Like, I met uncertainty in so many places in my life, from that revolution to then starting 4 other social movements. Every time you start something new, it's a lot to figure out. Starting 4 businesses, um, but as I was, and every movement, every business I started was focused on how do we train more people to become better leaders because I don't want to do this alone. What I learned from when I was 14 was you know, the only way that you can achieve big change is by sharing power. And the more power you share, the more power you generate, which is really interesting, right? And then you can do more together. So I trained a lot of people. And then I realized that, well, one of the key things that people need to face in order to be good leaders is to answer this question of what do you do when you don't know what to do, which is scary place, right? Oh, what do I do now when there's anxiety, when anxiety is high? In other ways, when you meet some kind of uncertainty, some kind of a challenge, it can be I'm changing a school. I have a new teacher. It can be I have a new job. It can be companies going through a big transformation. It can be as big as earthquake or AI is going to take my job or a war. It can be as small as that big. Doesn't matter. It's uncertainty. And then how do you handle that uncertainty in a way that you ask yourself, what can I do here? How can I contribute to the solution and enable others to do the same? Because many people don't think that way. Many people think about, who do I need to follow to survive this? And that's dependency. Now you depend on authority. Someone who will come and tell you, hey, follow me, I'll have all the answers. Now, what happens is that sometimes they really want to maybe help, but very often they're robbing you of that experience of wrestling with that challenge, that developmental. So, nothing develops better than facing something that seems difficult and then figuring it out. And even if you don't have the exact result you wanted, I don't want to say fail, but maybe because you fail only when you quit completely, right? But if, even if you don't achieve what you wanted, you had an experience that built you up and you're a bit ready for the next one.
So, was it always your dream to come to America?
No, it happened only, I played basketball and I loved watching NBA and always wanted to play in NBA. And I was pretty good. So I really wanted to try out in the US. But then when I came, my first experience with America is actually I was exchange student in rural Ohio, in South Ohio. I was in village basically in high school. And that made me want to come back because I don't know. Midwest is very nice. People are very nice. They were curious about me. They didn't know much about. They were very confused about who I am and what is this. And they know about 7 countries in the world. That's about it. Uh, but they were very accepting, and I just felt, ah, look at this place. Look at us back there in Balkans killing each other because we have a little bit of difference. And look at these folks here. They're figuring this out. All these people from all parts of the world and they built something together that's admirable. And I that was the moment I really, really wanted to come back. Like if I ever thought where I want to live, and I didn't want to live in Serbia for sure, at one point in my life later, especially, that would be it. So I'm here now, and I
Yeah.
have kids who are born here. And
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Who's been your inspiration? Who's been your hero that's allowed you to navigate through all these stages of life to today?
I have many of them. I don't have one. For longest, it was Hakeem Olajuwon, the Houston Rockets center, because he was big and strong, but he used his brain to leverage his power. It was just brilliant and his moves were so gracious, amazing guy. So that's one guy who basketball. I liked a lot. Um, Guy called Nikola Tesla, which is very common for people from my region, a scientist, because of his altruism. He always thought what he can do for the humankind. I was always impressed with that, with generosity of his genius. Uh, Michael Jordan, a big one as well, but not because I was Houston Rockets fan at the time in the 90s because of Hakeem, but because of his ability to focus on the moment. I always wanted to be like that. He's just, yeah, it's amazing, his presence. And the presence is like being, there. Um, Many other people, some ordinary people that you never heard of in my life, some older people from my neighborhood. This guy, Peja, who was just a guy who we played football with, soccer, and he was older than me, 5, 6 years older. But every time we played with him, he would not yell at you if you screw up because you're younger, you're gonna screw up. When we played soccer in the neighborhood, but he would tell you what to do. It's like, hey, let's try this next time. "No, what about this? Oh, don't worry about that. That's kind of like it felt. I always wanted to be on that team, and like I want to be like that guy. That felt empowering. I mean, like many ordinary people that you never heard of, inspired me.
So, what is the energy for you every day to wake up and do this work you do? You're impacting a lot of lives for the rest of their lives. You're doing an important work. I'm sure it's stressful. You have a soul, you have a family. What is that collectively for you to do all this at a high level?
Yeah, I don't find it stressful.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I just had this coaching session this morning with this woman, and she's trying to overcome. We all try, we're all trying to overcome certain fears that hold us back. So she was not sure why she can't make her work more public. And then we dug deeper, asked some questions, and figured out uh, there's a fear of disagreeing with others, and then there's a fear of loss of relationship, and so forth. And then after a conversation, she realized deeper what is behind that, and just knowing what's behind your fear, I saw her change already. And then we brainstormed a few things that she can do now, and she just left, and she was so grateful for this conversation. And I'm just grateful that I am even able to have it with her and I can share some of my knowledge. I was grateful for her too. So just seeing people overcoming their fears is, I don't know, it's like the most rewarding thing in the universe. You just suddenly see them. Now they're a bit more. Now think about that teacher that enabled you to figure out, to maybe fall in love in physics, like what happened to me, or that teacher who gave you a little bit of self-esteem to apply for that contest, and that I feel very lucky and privileged that I can be in that position where I can uh, share some stuff that I know help people, but at the same time they're helping me tremendously because they give me a sense of purpose.
So let's say you have a dream tonight and you run into the version of you before you came to America.
Mhm.
You walk into a room and there's a film projector. You click play and a 60-second highlight reel of this life you've orchestrated, the life you've lived comes up on the wall. Is that younger version of you going to believe your life turned out this way?
No, no, shocked.
Yeah.
Um, I think about it quite a bit. Like I get to teach at Georgetown, one of the best schools in the world. I can, I feel very grateful for that. I get to spend time with world thinkers and people who who endured unimaginable things, who spent in prison 9 years and went out to fight for freedom, who won freedom. Uh, People who moved whole countries, people who created organizations that changed the world. Uh, they come to our house, they hang out with us. Their kids hang out with our kids. Uh, yeah, it's insane. I do reflect on that. How where I ended up. It's how unlikely. I feel lucky and grateful.
So in that 60-second highlight reel, what are you the proudest of, the happiest about?
The family that I have, the friends that surround me,
Yeah.
the most important things in your life.
The interesting thing about successful immigrants to this country is that we're going through a lot of change. A lot of things are very different in America than they were, say, even a decade ago. Do
Yeah.
you have hope that we're going to get over these things? How do you what's your soul feel like about what's going on here? Because you came from areas where you experienced tension and war and things that can
Yeah.
divide people. What's your take right now and the future in America?
America has tremendous ability to transform itself, even from the deepest challenges. So I believe in that. The creativity, that the freedom generates is endless. And I think I'm hopeful. What gives me hope are actually young people who want to get involved. And the key thing is that it's not guaranteed. Like every one of us has to do something. What does it mean? In this particular historical moment, I would say it means don't let anyone scare you into obedience. I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and the fear. Fear is natural emotion, and it's fine, but too much fear will lead you to wrong choices. That's why I teach people how to face uncertainty, because uncertainty creates fear. And then, when you make decisions based on fear, they're reductive. They can be, you can overcompensate out of fear and overreact. You can shrink and run. You can surrender your autonomy, your freedom, just to feel protected from fear. You say things that you don't mean because of fear. It's taxing. So that's why you have to learn how to face the rising uncertainty. And I was at a conference just this weekend at Cornell, and some young students asked me, "What do you think young people should learn today?" And I said, one key thing is you have to learn how to face that uncertainty with agency. And that sounds very academic. What I mean by that is go have an adventure. Go have an adventure. Like try something that's not easy. And again, you're not going to be perfect, and you might not achieve what you want, and you might suck at the beginning for sure. We all at the beginning are not great at things. But what's going to happen is that it's not about solving that particular challenge. Maybe you sign up first time for the basketball team. Maybe you become a Boy Scout, Girl Scout. Maybe whatever that is. You start learning about how to deal with challenges in general. And the more scary things you face today, growing up, the stronger you become, and the more scary things you'll face as an adult. Which means that bigger challenges you'll be able to face and more successful you will be. So challenge yourself, have an adventure, learn from it.
Wisdom. So well said. So I gotta know. I want to get to the true essence of your soul. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, colleagues, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm an adventure. Like I'm curious adventure. I have this need to know, to understand. And that often leads me to doing too many things. So that's a downside. Also leads me to uncover things that I didn't expect and others never saw. But not only in the world, but also in others. So that leads me to ask good questions, which sometimes make people uncomfortable. And sometimes people appreciate it because so yeah, that's how I like to think about myself. I'm an adventurer.
So if anybody wants to get involved with ChangeLab, they have questions for you, they want to hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
So there are two things. Obviously, there's a changelabglobal.com website, and you can find what we do there. Workshops, create experiences, leadership programs, especially now focusing on people who are going through a transition. I have a few very good cohorts that they're going to be launched in September, where people can apply for. But for others, you can also follow me and my work at the pulseofchange.org, which is a free newsletter where I write about weekly. I'm not going to spam you, it's just weekly email about my experiences and very practical things, how you can apply new tools, new mindsets, how you work on yourself to be that person who can, in the face of uncertainty, lead.
Okay. I will put those links in the show notes. So great to meet you. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for taking a minute out. Your story is wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, sir.